When you think about carriers, you probably think about the big three, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. Or maybe you've done your research and you discovered cheap MVNO options. One of those cheap MVNO options you should consider is Google Fi. If you take a look at the prices of Google Fi and you compare it to other MVNO options, you probably realize that this isn't the cheapest carrier out there. Carriers like Mint Mobile, US Mobile, etc. are cheaper than Google Fi. The cheapest unlimited plan that Google Fi has to offer is Unlimited Essentials for $35 a month. Now that definitely looks expensive, especially when you consider other MVNO options. But if you're like me and you have a bunch of other lines on your account, this could be your parents' line, your siblings' line, you get the point. This will lower down your phone bill. So let's see, how much would it cost if you were to have 3 lines on your account? Well, that's a better price. But isn't other MVNO options still cheaper than Google Fi? That's true, but we have to keep in mind the type of offers that Google Fi has. For example, if you're a new customer and you switch to Google Fi, you might be able to get $800 off the Google Pixel 10 series, essentially making the Google Pixel 10 free. Obviously, you still gotta pay the taxes and maybe the fees that come with it, but the retail price of the Google Pixel 10 is $800 and Google Fi will be giving you $800 off it. Now maybe you don't care about phones, maybe you're satisfied with your phone. That's a good thing. However, that shouldn't be the only thing you should consider when you are switching to Google Fi or considering switching to Google Fi. That leads me on to my next point, security. Whether you like it or not, you will be using your phone number to sign up for a lot of services. It's a very crucial thing that you own. There have been cases where people have been SIM swapped, meaning that someone stole their phone number. This is a very scary thing that can happen to anyone. What I like to do and what I recommend a lot of other people to do is increase their security without it being too much of an inconvenience for you. What is and what isn't an inconvenience for you is for you to decide. Now, what does this have to do with Google Fi? Google Fi offers better security compared to other carriers. Of course, this isn't going to 100% guarantee that you won't get SIM swapped or that you won't have any cyber attacks towards you, but this is a step in the right direction. On top of this, you don't just get a phone number from a carrier, you give them personal information. Google Fi has also asked my mom for a lot of information, but I believe this is because we financed our phones through them. I'll dive more into this later on in this video. So, I've talked about prices and security. What about the actual coverage and data speed? I switched to Google Fi from Verizon. At my house, Google Fi is actually faster compared to Verizon. I used an iPhone 15 Pro for the Verizon device and a Google Pixel 10 Pro for the Google Fi device. No matter how many tests I ran, the Google Fi device always came out on top. How about coverage, you may be asking? I tested Google Fi in the desert, the mountains, the city, and there was little hiccups. The desert and the mountains did have some hiccups, but they weren't significant enough for me to actually not recommend the service. On top of this, Verizon had issues in similar parts as well. I never lost service once on Google Fi. I also rarely lost service on Verizon. It is important to note that I have been on Verizon longer than I have been on Google Fi. I literally just recently switched to Google Fi. The coverage is pretty good on all of the big 3 carriers that I don't even worry about it anymore. If you're really concerned, I would recommend talking to a family member or friend and ask if they've had issues with their service or speeds when they're around your house or when they pass by your office building. You can also check the coverage map if you don't know any family members or friends that have T-Mobile. Asking a family member or friend would probably be better though. Google Fi also does have a free trial for their service, but please note that this will probably disqualify you from any new customer deals. Goodbye free Google Pixel 10. I'm overall very pleased with the speed and the coverage of Google Fi, especially considering how much cheaper it is compared to Verizon. If you're on Verizon, you know how expensive those phone bills get. Alright, now that we've covered that area, let's talk about features on Google Fi. On Google Fi's cheapest plan, you can get watch connectivity at no extra cost. Yes, you heard that right. no extra cost for watch connectivity. This means you can use a Google Pixel Watch 4 with LTE support at no extra cost to your phone bill. The downside is that Google Fi doesn't support Apple Watches. The only watches that are supported are the Google Pixel Watches, first gen and newer, and Samsung Galaxy Watches, Galaxy Watch 5 and newer. I know this is a big annoyance for people with iPhones, but I think Google is getting back at Apple for being a monopoly. If you do own an iPhone, it's not entirely over for you. You see, right now for new customers, you can get $800 off the Google Pixel 10 series. Now assuming you choose the Google Pixel 10, the only thing you would have to pay for is the smartwatch itself, excluding taxes of course, and possible fees you might encounter. But if you don't like Google phones, you can still get a great deal on a Samsung device, or get some deals for Motorola devices. You can get $600 off the S25, $700 off the S25 Plus, and $800 off for the S25 Edge and Ultra. For Samsung's folding lineup, you can get $700 off the Samsung Galaxy Flip 7 and $800 off the Samsung Galaxy Fold 7. It's important to note that I'm just telling you the deals assuming you're going on the cheapest unlimited plan. If you decide to go on the unlimited premium plan, you can get even more savings. Obviously, you'd be paying more towards your phone bill if you do this. How about Motorola deals? Sadly, they aren't as good as the offers I mentioned earlier. If you for some reason still want a Motorola, they offer $120 off the Moto G, $200 off the Moto G Stylus 2025, and $250 off the Motorola Razr 2025. I've listed so many great things about Google Fi, but what about the cons? One of the cons is the customer support. From what I've heard, when it comes to complex issues, Google Fi's support team isn't reliable. This is a real shame. What I recommend is only switch to this carrier if you're smart with phones, or join this carrier with someone that is smart with phones. I wouldn't recommend the carrier for you otherwise. The second con is Apple Watch service, which I already covered earlier. They just aren't supported on Google Fi. The third con is the amount of personal information that they ask from you. While it appears you only need a Google account and a payment method to sign up for this service, that's not what I've experienced, or what my mom has experienced. We literally needed to buy a needle, draw out blood, and then send it to them. Okay, maybe not that, but you get the point. I think it has a lot to do with us buying $3,000 worth of phones from them, and also financing it instead of buying it outright. The fourth con is the lack of iPhone deals. This is once again probably Google fighting back at Apple for being a monopoly. That's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I educated you guys on alternative carriers you should consider. Let me know in the comments what carrier you guys are on and your experience with them. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.